what is going on, and welcome back to What Shall We Do Next. I'm Mike, your host, and I hope you guys are having the best day ever. Before I get started, guys, if you are new here, please subscribe if you haven't already done that. We're on the road to 91,000 subscribers, and I would love you to join me on this journey, so hit subscribe and join the fam. And also, guys, go follow me on all my social media. Links are in the description. I have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even Snapchat, so go follow me on all of those. And as you guys know, I recently started a Facebook account, so you can add me on Facebook, and we can be Facebook friends, so go do that. Link is in the description. And finally, be sure to turn on the notification bell right next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified every time I upload a video. Thank you! But once again, I am coming back at you guys with another creepy video, and today we are talking about another creepypasta. And this creepypasta is called The Dark Truth Behind Recess. But enough of the jibber jabber, let's get right over to the story. The Dark Truth Behind Recess. I do not know how the tape came into my possession. All I know is that I found it in one of my drawers while I was cleaning them out in preparation for moving to a new house. It was a VHS tape with a plain white label. Recess R1109, new, return to C, was written on it in a thick black permanent marker. Whoever wrote it had very poor penmanship. It was barely legible. Like anyone who had watched Recess as a child, nostalgia came over me. I placed the tape in my old VCR and pressed play. It began with a blue screen. It stayed like that for a few minutes and then started flashing red. 30 seconds later, it cut to black. Thinking that the tape was wrecked, I went over to press eject. Before I reached the button, the Recess opening started with really poor compression quality. The video was blurry and the audio was muddy, but I kept waiting to see if anything weird would happen. The episode The Rules started and began playing out like a television broadcast version. Since the previous owner apparently took poor care of this tape, the vertical hold became progressively worse as it went on. Another thing that was off was the voice acting. The voices seemed to randomly fluctuated in quality, even in the middle of a sentence. For example, in one sentence, Gus would sound like himself. In the next, he would sound like the voice actor really did not want to be there. The animation was technically sound with the exception of some facial expressions. In certain scenes, the main characters' faces did not match what their emotions were trying to convey. In these peculiar scenes, TJ looked angry, Vince looked tired, Spinelli looked anxious, and Gretchen looked depressed. Mikey looked high, complete with bloodshot eyes, and Gus looked as if he genuinely hated everyone around him. A couple of minutes in, the episode completely jumped the tracks and went insane. At the scene where Vince was ordered to go into the dumpster and find a piece of fruit, it was taking him longer to find than it should have. Then, the sound of a garbage truck pulling up could be heard. Guys, Gus said. Everyone turned and saw the garbage truck. Everyone except TJ ran. TJ tried to help Vince get out, but eventually failed and ran away. The garbage truck picked up the dumpster and emptied its contents, including Vince, and began to crush them. Vince's screams in the scene sounded incredibly genuine, like the person doing his voice was actually being crushed to death. This whole time, everyone was looking in shock. When the screaming ceased, Randall began crying for a moment and ran off yelling, "Miss Finster," like he always did. Everyone else started crying, and then the screen faded to black. 30 seconds later, the scene abruptly cut to TJ walking home with his hands over his eyes. There was no sound at all for this part. The animation had really dropped in quality, like it was done by someone in their basement as opposed to a professional animation studio. It focused on TJ walking down a long road for a couple of minutes, with the vertical hole getting worse the whole time. After a while, it cut to TJ lying in bed crying quietly. It was quite genuine too. I could really hear the pain in his voice. Rather than cutting to black after this scene ended, it showed the remaining 5 students walking to school in the rain. None of them cared about the rain. In addition to some cuts and bruises, Mikey looked even more bloated than usual. Gretchen's glasses were shattered. Spinelli's hair was dirty and all over the place. Gus was wearing a black sweatshirt as opposed to his usual getup. TJ's hat was on with the bill facing forwards. They were all incredibly depressed. The vertical hold was so bad at this point that I could barely tell what was going on. It looked like the remaining children were just sitting in class, occasionally cutting at an empty desk. Finally, the vertical hold finally calmed down to the point where I could see. The depressing, mundane atmosphere went on until Gus pulled out a pen. He rammed it through his eye. TJ tried to stop him, but Gus ended up bleeding out until he fell over dead. Blood continuously dripped down his desk and pooled on the floor. Nobody else seemed to care. Everyone went to lunch after that class. Mikey engorged himself on whatever he could find, until eventually he grabbed his chest and rolled around on the floor screaming. Ultimately, his eyes rolled back into his head. He twitched once and then stopped moving. TJ barely tried to help this time. Nevertheless, he still became more depressed after Mikey died. The scene cut to the playground again. TJ and Spinelli were kicking a can back and forth, both expressing minimal interest in what they were doing. They looked as if they were on the verge of killing themselves. Gretchen silently walked past them and began climbing up Old Rusty. When she was at the top, she got ready to jump off. What was especially strange was that instead of looking depressed, the kids at the playground, with the exception of TJ and Spinelli, were shouting angrily at Gretchen. Most of them were chanting, "Do it! Jump!" or something similar. Randall called Miss Finster, and even she came over and joined the chanting. "We've got to stop her," yelled TJ, and he and Spinelli ran over and climbed to the top. TJ tried to get Spinelli to help pull Gretchen to safety inside of the platform at the top of Old Rusty. Instead, however, Spinelli simply glanced at him with a pained facial expression. She then stood up next to Gretchen, pulled a rope out of her pocket, and tied their ankles together. TJ begged and pleaded to them, "Don't do it. Come back inside." Gretchen and Spinelli looked at each other, closed their eyes, and jumped off. They splattered into bloody bits when they hit the asphalt. TJ leaned onto a bar and began loudly sobbing. The crowd was becoming angrier and angrier, despite being covered in the blood of Gretchen and Spinelli. The crowd began screaming, "Jump! Do it! Come on, jump!" and other phrases to that effect. TJ just curled up and covered his face. When the bell rang, everyone but TJ went inside. The screen was black for several minutes. After a few moments of fast-forwarding to see if there was anything else, the scene faded in to TJ sitting on the edge of his bed, crying. There was an ambient sound of what I recognized as a tornado off in the distance, though outside the window everything appeared normal. Throughout this scene, the tornado got so loud, and TJ's crying got more pained. Eventually, the tornado sound stopped. TJ lifted up a handgun from under his pillow, aimed it at his temple, and closed his eyes. After one more tear slipped out, he pulled the trigger. Blood and brains splattered all over the bed and wall behind him. The scene held on to TJ's corpse for a few more seconds, until the tape abruptly cut to black. I heard what sounded like a telephone dialing, then the tape stopped completely. I sold that damn thing on eBay. I never wanted to see it again. Maybe the guy who bought it will upload it to YouTube or something. But I did not even want to watch it a second time to capture the footage. One time was all I needed to get every detail. I do not know if the Recess production crew made this as some kind of sick joke or if it was just made by some guy with too much time on his hands, but I do not give a damn anymore. I just don't want to see it again. I will never be able to watch Recess the same way anymore. And that is the end of that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I thought it was pretty cool, kind of eerie, kind of sad, and kind of creepy at the same time. I never used to watch Recess that much when I was a kid. It was just one of those things that I watched if it was on, kind of like Hey Arnold, kind of the same thing. But it's a pretty cool story, and I finally got another one of these, The Dark Truth, done. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys, I've actually created a playlist on my channel, so if you guys want to watch all of the dark truths that I've ever done, there is a playlist on my channel, so you guys can watch them there if you want to. But my question to all of you for question of the day is, did you watch Recess or do you watch Recess? Let me know in the comment section. That is question of the day. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please slap a like on it. Let's see if we can go for 95 trillion likes on this video. I would really appreciate that. And if you guys didn't see my previous video, click on the outro when it comes on right about here, and you can watch my previous video. Or if you just want to watch another random video, you can click this side of the outro and it will do that too. But remember, the most important thing of all, guys, chase your dreams. I love you all. Don't let anybody bring you down, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another video. Peace out.